Every year, people walk into the Himalayas and never walk out. The mountain doesn't hunt them. It doesn't hate them. It simply doesn't care whether they live or die. Above a certain height, the human body begins to shut down. There's not enough air. The cold stops being weather and starts being a weapon. This is the most hostile place on the surface of the earth. And for hundreds of years, the people who live in its shadow have said something lives up there. Not a spirit, not a god. Something with a body that leaves footprints in the snow. In 1951, a British explorer photographed one of those footprints, and that single photograph has never been explained. They call it the Yeti, but this isn't really a story about a monster. It's a story about what we build to survive a place that kills us for no reason at all. To understand the Yeti, you first have to understand the mountain. The Himalayas are not like other places. They are the highest point on Earth, the roof of the world, and they were never meant for us. Above 8,000 meters, there is a zone climbers call the death zone. The name is not poetic, it is literal. Up there is not enough oxygen to sustain human life. Your body begins to die the moment you arrive. Cell by cell, your judgment fades, your muscles weaken. Every step forward costs you something you cannot get back. And the cold up there is not a temperature, it is a predator. It finds the smallest gap in your clothing, the smallest patch of exposed skin, and it takes it. Hundreds of people have died on these mountains. Some are never found. Others are still up there right now, frozen exactly where they fell, used as landmarks by the climbers who come after them. And here is the thing that breaks something in the human mind. The mountain feels nothing. It doesn't chase you. It doesn't want you. It doesn't even know you're there. You can do everything right and still die for no reason that anyone can explain. And human beings cannot live with that. We need a reason. We need a face. We need something in the storm that meant for it to happen. So we start to wonder, what if we're not alone up here? What if something is watching? For centuries, the Yeti belonged only to the mountains. The people who lived there knew it, told stories about it. But the outside world dismissed it all as folklore. Then came 1951. A British mountaineer named Eric Shipton was exploring the Menlung Glacier, high in the Himalayas. Shipton was not a dreamer. He was one of the most respected explorers of his era. A serious man, a careful observer. And on that glacier, at around 6,000 meters, he found something in the snow, a trail of footprints. But these were not like anything he had seen. Each print was enormous, wider than a human foot, with what looked like a large toe set apart from the others. Shipton did something that changed everything. He took out his camera, placed his ice axe beside one print for scale, and photographed it. That photograph went around the world. For the first time, the Yeti was not a story. It was evidence, a single image that serious scientists could not easily explain. Some said it was a bear. Some said the snow had melted and distorted a normal track. Some said it was exactly what it looked like. The debate has never ended. More than 70 years later, the Shipton photograph is still studied, still argued over, still unexplained to everyone's satisfaction. But step back for a moment and notice what really happened here. A trail of prints in the snow gave people something the mountain never offered. Proof that they were not alone up there. And strange as it sounds, that is a kind of comfort, because a creature can be found, can be understood, can be faced. The mountain cannot. While the Western world argued about photographs, the people of the Himalayas simply lived with the Yeti, to the Sherpa, to the Tibetan monks in the high monasteries. The Yeti was never a mystery to be solved. It was part of the world, like the snow, like the wind, like the mountain itself. They had different names for it and different kinds of it. Some were said to hunt goats, some were said to hunt men. It was not always a monster. Sometimes it was a guardian, a spirit of the high places that punished those who did not show the mountain respect. And in some monasteries, they kept relics. The most famous was the Pangboche hand. For generations, a monastery in the village of Pangboche kept what the monks said was the hand of a Yeti. Dark, leathery, clearly old, with long fingers and heavy bones. Pilgrims came to see it. Explorers tried to examine it. Some even tried to steal it. And eventually, parts of it made their way to the West for testing. We'll come back to what they found, but focus for a moment on what the hand meant to the people who kept it. It wasn't a curiosity, it was proof. Proof that the thing in the mountains was real, that their grandparents had not been lying, that the stories were true. When you live at the foot of something that can kill you at any moment, for no reason at all, it helps to believe that the mountain has a keeper, something you can pray to, something you can leave offerings for, something that follows rules, because a monster with rules is far less terrifying than a mountain with none. Footprints are one thing, a relic in a monastery is another. But what about people actually seeing it? And not just anyone. Because here is what makes the Yeti harder to dismiss than most legends. Some of the witnesses were the most experienced mountaineers alive. These were not tourists, not people prone to panic. These were professionals who had spent their lives in the mountains, who knew exactly what a bear looked like, what a shadow looked like, what exhaustion and altitude could do to the mind. And some of them came back describing something else. In 1925, a photographer named Tombazi reported seeing a creature at around 15,000 feet, upright, moving across the snow, dark against the white. He only saw it for a moment before it vanished, but he went to where it had been and found footprints. Over the following decades, the reports kept coming. Climbers who saw dark, upright figures moving across distant slopes, expeditions that found fresh tracks at altitudes where no known animal should be. Even Sir Edmund Hillary, the first man confirmed to summit Everest, took the question seriously enough to lead an expedition specifically searching for the Yeti. He came back a skeptic. He found no definitive proof, but noticed something. The Yeti was taken seriously enough that the greatest mountaineer of the 20th century spent real time and money trying to settle the question. Now, we have to be honest here. At extreme altitude, the human brain does strange things. Lack of oxygen causes hallucinations. The endless white causes the eyes to invent shapes. Exhaustion and fear do the rest. Climbers have reported companions who weren't there, voices in the wind, figures walking beside them who vanished. So maybe that's all this is. The mind breaking down at the edge of survival and putting a face onto the emptiness. But that explanation has a problem. It explains the sightings. It does not explain the footprints. You cannot photograph a hallucination. For decades, the Yeti lived in that gap. Too much evidence to dismiss completely. Not enough to prove. Footprints, but no body. Sightings, but no photograph clear enough to settle it. A relic in a monastery, but no way to test it. And then, science caught up. In the 2000s, researchers did something no one had been able to do before. They gathered physical samples, attributed to the Yeti, from all across the Himalayas. Hair, bone, skin, tissue from monastery relics, including pieces connected to the famous Pangboche hand, and they ran them through modern DNA analysis. For the first time, the question would not be settled by stories, or photographs, or belief. It would be settled by genetics. The results came in 2014, and again in a major study in 2017. And here is what they found. Almost every single sample belonged to a bear. Himalayan brown bears, Tibetan brown bears, and Asian black bears. The Pangboche hand, the sacred relic kept for generations, human and other ordinary origins. The mystery hair, the unknown tissue. Bears. Every time. Now there was one interesting twist. Some early analysis suggested a sample might match an ancient polar bear, hinting at an unknown species. But later, more careful study brought it back down to earth. It was a Himalayan brown bear. Genetically, the Yeti was a bear. The mountain's monster had fur and DNA we could name. For most scientists, the case was closed. The Yeti was a misidentified bear, seen at a distance, in bad conditions, by frightened or exhausted people. And honestly, that explains an enormous amount. A large brown bear, standing on its hind legs in the snow, at a distance, in a whiteout, would look exactly like the creature people described. Science had spoken. The Yeti was a bear. Case closed. Except, the DNA said bear. The science was solid. The case, officially, was closed. So let me ask you something. Why is the Yeti still here? Because it is. People still report sightings. Expeditions still go looking. The science didn't kill the Yeti at all. And that is the most interesting part of this whole story. Think about what the bear explanation actually asks people to accept. That the footprints mean nothing. That the relic their grandparents prayed to was ordinary. And that they must go back to standing beneath a mountain that kills without reason, with nothing between them and that emptiness. The Yeti was never really about the evidence. The footprints were just permission to believe. What people actually needed was the belief itself. Because here is the truth about the Himalayas. The mountain still kills. Every year, it takes more people. Skilled ones, careful ones, people who did everything right. And the human mind cannot accept that there is no reason. So we would rather believe that something lives up there, something you can respect, or anger, or understand. Because a mountain with a monster makes sense, and a mountain that makes sense is one you can almost forgive. For taking the people you loved, that is what the Yeti is. Not a bear, not a hoax, a story we tell. So the deadliest place on earth feels a little less empty. The Yeti was never hiding in the mountains. It was hiding in us, in the part of us that would rather face a monster than an empty, indifferent void. The footprints are still up there. The mountain still takes people every year. And somewhere in the storm, we still need something to be watching. Because the alternative is that no one is. Every country hides a monster, and we are coming for all of them